Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today we're going to take a look at MakuluLinux Shift. And this looks like one of the coolest distros I've come across in a long time. I've been kind of looking over their page here, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of cool stuff about this, and the Shift one has me particularly interested in. What Shift is a combination of all the different distros they have available, but you can load the different layouts in and essentially transform your distro into one of the other spins, which is really cool. So what we have here overall is MakuluLinux as a core Debian download, and then it's got the Flash Debian, LinDoz version, which kind of looks a lot like Windows, and then we have the Droid download. However, Shift will let you have LinDoz, the Flash version, core, and even more. I think it's also got like, here we go, we got a LinDoz, Flash, Core, Dash, Simple, Unity, GNOME, and Plasma. And so this distro is based on the GNOME framework, GNOME 40, and also, according to them, they don't have the bloat of GNOME. It's kind of like the GNOME framework without the bloat. I guess we'll find out. And if I remember right, a few videos back, Derek Taylor had kind of released this really cool, scary Halloween type trailer on GNOME, and it was really cool. And I really like how he rated it.
Rated D for bloated.
Got a kick out of that. And so now every time I see anything GNOME, I always have that in my head. Anyways, this is supposed to be kind of like the GNOME without the bloat. So it's built on their framework and also works with all the different extensions. So I'm really curious to see how this works. And like I said, I think I said it, it's built on Debian Testing is the platform. And I think they're even working on an Ubuntu base as well. So that's kind of interesting. But I really like the idea that it's based on Debian Testing here. So we'll probably even end up with the latest kernel after an update. And being that it's on testing, I believe that would also make it semi-rolling release as well. So really interesting. I'm going to download this right now and load it in, and I'll be right back. Okay, and now I'm at the boot MakuluLinux default boot screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And then this would take us right into the live version ISO. And I do remember reading on the website that this could take a while to boot in. Sometimes when you boot into the live environment, it's got to load a lot of things in the background to get it all set up and everything, especially because it's a shift version, which allows it to shift. And in case I didn't explain that a little bit better before, the shift version actually is a combination of all the other ones, all put into one app. And then you can switch to each different app with just one click and be in the other bin, just like that. So it's kind of cool. Really curious to see how that works out. So now it's kind of gone to a black screen, and then it should come up to a login screen. But this is the part that might take a while. If you experience this and you're sitting for a minute or two, that's okay. It's normal. It's just kind of doing its stuff in the background, but eventually it'll pop in, and I'm already seeing a mouse cursor there. So that's a good sign. Unless, of course, it just stays black, then not so good. Okay, so here we got a welcome screen. Kind of tells you Makulu Shift can transform between 8 different desktop environments in just a few seconds. Wow. Each layout transforms completely, including docks, panels, icon packs, backgrounds, cursors, menus, and all that other good stuff. So how cool is that? So here I'm in my intro, and so I believe if I just click it, but they do recommend that you kind of watch this video, and it kind of gives you a quick overview of what's going on, and then it'll take you through a quick run through of all the different layouts. This is the LinDoz layout here, which has the traditional bottom dock and everything. And then we have our Flash, and the Flash layout is also a very traditional panel with a whisker-like menu. Really cool. And then we got the core layout, which has a multi-function bottom dock. And check it out, it's got the pie menu in the middle. That's really neat. I like that. And then we have the dash version, which has a side panel and an inverted style whisker type pop-out menu. Nice. So that is cool too. And then we have the simple layout, which has an old style GNOME type menu. And lots of transparency, so looking good. And then we have the GNOME style itself layout, but it also has a panel on the bottom. They kind of describe it as an upside down GNOME in the bottom panel. And to me, that's the way I would prefer GNOME anyways if I was going to use it. And then finally the Unity layout. Beautiful. And then here's the Plasma, which has a bottom panel and KDE style menu. So you can even make it as a Plasma layout. And then of course, here's where it's telling you can right-click on the desktop menu for more experiences. And then we got this little shortcut extension here so you can see all these little shortcuts that are available to you. So really handy. I am really liking this. So that's kind of the overview on there. And then they kind of go on to let you know that the default username and password are both Makulu. Nice. And Makulu, that's kind of a cool name. I like that. It kind of sounds like I don't know, a chant a witch doctor would say, like Makulu. And now we have our intro here, which shows us our different layouts. Wow, look at those layouts. Awesome. So if I just chose one of these, like, well, I don't know, like this Plasma one, then theoretically it should just like transform this whole desktop into a Plasma look. And by transforming it, it just takes probably a few seconds, half a minute. Of course, we are in the live ISO right now, so everything's going to be a little bit slower, but there you go. A complete transformation in seconds, literally. Oh, cool. So now we have a Plasma look, and we got the Plasma type taskbar down here, and kind of a Mac looking icon for the files. And so here's our file manager. Nice. And I'm assuming that's probably a GNOME files. Nemo. Even better. I think regular GNOME runs Nautilus, and well, Nautilus kind of sucks in my opinion. But Nemo, I love it. That's great. Cool and groovy. And so then here you go. You got your KDE Plasma style menu. Anyways, we'll tour all that when we get it installed. But that is so cool that we can just kind of flip around. I'm going to just jump back to the Unity default desktop just because that's where we were in the beginning, and I kind of want to stay consistent with all the defaults while I get this set up. So that should just kind of switch over in a flash. And then we'll go ahead and run the live installer here. And I'm a little curious to see what type of installer is in here too. We'll just put that off to the side there. I like the conky, nice effect there. And so now we got our two choices when we run the installer. Before we install, we got start installation or select your download server, which shows recommended. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'll hit continue. And so by default, we got main, and it looks like a server in Germany. So I'm going to click that, and it should give us a US location. Yeah, I'm guessing maybe the ping speed, 0.2, should be faster. I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And then we got our base set up here for testing Debian, and not sure what that default is there, but I'm going to hit this, and then it's showing our download speed at megabits per second. So we want the highest one, preferably, which looks like 9.5 right here, which is on a US based server. So I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to hit OK to update the apt cache. And that really should be all that we really need to change here. So once that's done updating, which should only take less than a minute, maybe 30 seconds, then we'll go ahead and continue, and it should open up the installer. Okay, and it says fail to download repository information. Looks like something to do with didn't like the keys weren't signed or something. So probably something that's totally ignorable. I'm just going to close that and then X out of that. And then we'll go with start installation. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And it's showing the Calamares installer. So nice. This ought to be easy peasy and straightforward, simple. So I'm going to hit next, go with the defaults, next again, and again. Here I'm going to go and replace the partition, I think. So that should just kind of overwrite everything. And it won't let me go next. So I guess I don't want that choice. Erase disk ought to do the trick. Very good then. Erase disk it is. Go with my usual Toadwick. And then we can skip login automatically. And I'll use same password for administrator account. Actually, I could check and log in automatically too. Why not? Then I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Everything looks good. It's going to overwrite the whole disk. Clean slate. So I'm going to install. And now the install process has begun. So it's that simple to install. I'm just going to let it install here. And after it's finished, I'll be right back. So I'm going to pause the video. Okay, the install is completed and completed with an error message. Looks like a Python error in job packages. So that looks like it's something that's pretty benign, only moderately fatal. No, I'm kidding. Actually, this should be fine. I think that's really an error that's not going to affect anything. Just going to close that. And even though it said the install didn't go through, I don't believe it. I think it worked. I'm going to go ahead and come up here, restart. And hit restart again, and we'll see what happens. Okay, now we're booted in, and it looks like we got our first boot screen here. That's pretty cool. So it's recommending that we install anything that we might need. Here, we have our language settings, network connections, snapshot manager, settings manager. Really, we don't have to do any of these because everything on here, as far as I can tell, is working. And I can always get back in there if I have to anyway. But check for updates is a good one to go with. And before I do anything, why don't I open up my terminal? I'm not sure if htop is installed. Probably not. Let's do a quick sudo apt install htop. And really right now all we have running is just the settings manager. So I'm just going to see how our resource usage is. Run htop here, and wow, check that out, 554 megs. That is too cool. That's way better than
Rated B for bloated.
Wow, I'm really impressed with the resource usage here on a raw setup. Typically on a regular GNOME install, you would expect to see right around 1.2 gigs right off the bat. So I'm really impressed with that. In fact, I'm super impressed. That is really efficient. Nice to see that. So I think we're off to a great start already. Gonna jump in here, check for updates. Then we get our package updater here. Just gonna make that a little smaller. So it's kind of off to the side here. And I'm gonna let that download those. And then we'll run the installer off to the side while we check other things. Also, we got appearance settings, and I don't think that menu's actually working there. So I'm going to want to just do that from the intro screen, the other screen, Makulu thingy. What's this? Snapshot manager. Actually, with the updater running, none of these other ones are going to do anything. I believe that's what's up there. So yeah, we'll just let the updater do its thing. And I'll just kind of push that off to the side, and we'll just explore a little bit while that's running. So our default theme here is the Unity type theme. We have our taskbar over here on the left side, which is cool. Then up here we got our universal menu, and it's showing what's open right now. Here's our workspaces. Nice. We got our clock in the middle. This, I believe, is our Makulu menu that shows this stuff. And this is what opens typically when you start up, if you have this auto started. So these are different news articles related to Makulu. And we have our additional settings. That's where we are over here. Appearance settings. And these are where we can set different things. The desktop clock, that's the big conky that's on the desktop here. And so if you hit that, then you can set it for different things. You can disable it if you don't want it there. By default, there's going to be nothing showing up here, but of course you're going to have default settings like the clock being enabled and it's white by default, 24 hours by default. You can set it at 12 if you prefer that. Personally, I like 24 hours. Then the position, right now it's on the right side of the screen over in here, but you can move it on this side. And then you can have it, your quotes update set for hourly or daily. And the quotes are the little thing that's showing up near the bottom of the conky. If I just kind of slide all this out of the way, there's a quote down there. As long as people will accept crap, it will be financially profitable to dispense it. Wow. Yeah, that is so true. And there is a lot of crap going around on the airwaves and the net. And people buy it, so why not dispense it? So many things you can do here. And it's got the news headlines there from Makulu. And we have our wallpaper manager and our layout manager. And the layout manager is what we saw when we were in the live version. And that's this guy here where we can kind of change our layouts as we go. And I'm going to slide my updater back over off into this corner. And let's explore some of these layouts. So we got a lot of choices here. We got 8 choices of layouts. Wow, we got LinDoz, Flash, Core, Dash, Simple, Unity, Gnome, and Plasma. Wow, I think we tried the Plasma when we were in the live mode. Let's take a look at LinDoz real quick. So if I hit that, it says transforming. Please wait. Ah, there we go. Nice. So we have this Windows-like desktop. Now that we're in a Windows-like layout, we should be able to have a show desktop right there at the end, and there it is. Nice. Now we can kind of get everything out of the way. And so this is our desktop, and it does look very Windows-like. Wow. Got the task manager here at the bottom. Then over here we got this guy and beautiful menu, and kind of like the description showed, a cinnamon type menu, cinnamon Windows slash. And it is very Windows-like without all the garbage. Pretty nice. And then the side menu here with our favorites, shortcuts, and so forth. Really great. This is a nice layout. And of course, wallpaper. Probably can change that just through a right click. Got our theme manager, desktop background. All these things really easily accessible. Nice, right here in a right click. So desktop background is here. So if we want to change that, we can go in here, select wallpaper. Nice, and that looks like maybe variety, I think. Let's see. Yeah, variety images, cool. So we got variety and beautiful wallpaper already. One thing I like about variety is you get really gorgeous wallpaper. And it looks like, being that we're in Windows here, I'm rolling my middle mouse wheel, by the way. You can also move over to the side here and grab the little scroll bar. And it looks like the wallpapers in the LinDoz version here is mostly earth type landscapes. Really cool. Trees, bridge. I like that. Wow, I might even go with that one. A lot of great choices. That is really super nice. Wow, that is too cool as well. Check that out. That looks great. And then we got this heart flavored shaped tree. Wow. Yeah, maybe I'll go with this dark one here. That looks kind of cool. And then I'm going to quit that. And it looks like our updater is still going. So I'm glad to see that. And so LinDoz is really nice. That's kind of something I might use if I had this installed. It might be one of my choices here. Not a Windows fan, but I do like the way this looks overall. Aesthetically, it looks really nice. So that would definitely be a contender. And then we got Flash. And so this is the one that has like I think they described it as the whisker menu type menu. So we'll see how this one looks. All right, so now we got this one. Does this have a show desktop? Yep, it does. Excellent. So wow, that's a really cool wallpaper. The colors in it are awesome. Really bright and vivid. That is cool. And then down here we got our transparent, semi-transparent taskbar. That is cool too. I like that, how the gradient kind of goes up into a semi-transparent. Then our menu is, yeah, kind of whisker menu like. And really cool menu. I like the fact that it's got rounded edges here. That is really great. And the categories change just by hovering over. I like that too. That's the only thing that kind of bugs me in some menus, is you got to actually click on the category to get it to show what's inside. And I just like hovering. I don't want to have to go through all those extra steps. Great. And awesome wallpapers. So it looks like each different layout or theme comes with different types of wallpaper, because I don't remember seeing those colors. Everything was kind of landscape oriented before. So if I went into desktop background and select wallpaper, it's probably got a whole bunch of different, wow, so many colors. This is a really cool theme. I like this theme just because of all the vivid colors we got in the wallpaper. Very artsy. I think that's cool. I like that. And this is really cool. A happy tree. We got a whale hitching a ride with a bunch of birds. That's always fun. Nice ocean theme. That's really cool. Wow. Tree house and a tree. And yeah, I can't make out the brand name, but that was probably a real name way back in the day for a wagon or a cart. Then we got an alien. Can't take the toxic air. These are really cool. Superman. Nice. That is neat. A little fairy. Cool. That is awesome. Wow. And the classic wolf stuff. I like that. You're in a stormy mood. Tornado. Yeah, these are great. Wow, so many to choose from. I'd probably have to have this set at auto scroll just so I could have them all, because I'd never be able to make up my mind on this one. This is actually really cool. This would probably be my other top contender for a background, I guess. And then we have our core. So like I said, literally you could just have pretty much a different distro. I mean, an install, just a different spin every day of the week if you want. You'll never be bored with this. So I gotta say, Shift is really an interesting distro. This is probably one of the coolest ones I've ever come across. I really like this idea. Whoever thought of it is almost on my level of genius. So now this kind of has a Mac look to it. So we got our selector down here. And like I said, this whole distro, I believe, is based off of GNOME 40. At least off the framework anyway. So they really did an amazing job. And the fact that it was only running like 584 megs of RAM. Wow. I still can't get over that. And so now we have our menu manager up here. And the core one also has the pie menu. I'm not sure what the keystroke is for that. Oh, right there, pie menu. So if I hit that, the pie menu comes right up. And then we got all our different categories here. So if we went into sound and video, it could click that. And then this is what's in there. Nice, got popcorn time, MPV player, and then Hypnotics, which is a live TV player. Also mixer and main menu. Then we have our WPS Office. This is really cool. So pie menu, that's a really kind of an efficient design. I think is really fascinating. Like the pie menu a lot. I guess I didn't really have to open that. Let's just cancel it. And then we have our dash panel. Oh, I forgot to look at the menu. Oh yeah, pretty basic menu here. Of course, when you got the pie menu, that's probably where I'd be going most of the time. That kind of got me spoiled. Then we have our dash layout. So now we're transforming to dash. All these different looks, and we don't even have to reinstall anything. That's too cool. Yeah, I've probably already said that about 15 times already, but can't get over it. Now we're in the dash theme, and we have our taskbar over here on the side. And if we hit this, we got a nice menu there. Wow, that's kind of like a nicely set up whisker menu too, actually. Nice calendar, which I clicked by mistake. So we got our side panel here. Very nice. Then we have our home network trash, desktop layout manager. So really nice looking there too. Dash. And then this is our simple theme. So if we hit that, this is the one I believe was described as the old style GNOME layout. So we have our bottom panel here. Very nice. And again, we have our show desktop all the way at the end. Always nice to see that there. I like that. That's something I'm kind of spoiled with. And then here we got our menu, nice simple menu. So I'm liking that. Simple is good. This is something I really like here. This is really very straightforward, easy to use, and simple. So it does match. And again, remember, there's different wallpapers with each theme, a different set. So many. And this looks like the default for simple right now. Really nice background. I really like that. And a semi-transparent taskbar. And then Unity was what we had by default. Then next we got our GNOME, which is set up. I see the menu looks like a classic GNOME menu. So we'll switch over to that. But I also see a taskbar on the bottom, so it's probably going to look a little bit like the way GNOME 40 should look. Cool. Now if we hit our show desktop here, beautiful wallpaper again, just awesome. And then our menu is like the full screen GNOME menu. And I can even go horizontally here, because after all, it is based on GNOME 40 framework. And so we have our nice GNOME menu. Really cool. And then if I hit escape, I got the selector here. Really great. And I almost forgot about the updater. It looks like the updater has finished downloading all the stuff. There's 1,237 updates. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and just click install updates and let that install. And while that's doing that, we'll just continue our tour. And finally, we have our Plasma desktop. And yes, very Plasma-ish for sure. And there's our Plasma menu set up just perfectly. Wow. I got to tell you, there you go. 8 desktop environments in one. And this is just beyond cool. And we still got our updater running. So I'm going to open up the file manager here. Really nice looking default icon theme. And if I bring this guy back up, we go into our theme manager, I think it is. Here we can change our overall looks. So right now, for a mouse pointer, we got this kind of an arrowhead, I think it is. And so if you want to change that and you want something more traditional, you can just click this guy. And then you got a regular pointer. If you have bad vision, you can click this pointer over here. And now you got a gigantic mouse pointer. You can't lose that one. So, or, you know, you don't have to have bad vision. You can just maybe be somebody that wants to have a giant pointer. And then all these different shapes. There's one that looks like a mouse and kind of a fancy looking pointer thingy there. And an arrow. Tons of different mouse pointers that you got available here. And then here you can kind of change your color themes. Right now we got this kind of an orangish color. If I were to hit something like, say, red, that should change our folders here to red. And then we got a red and our scrolling, background highlighting. And then we can do purple, which is really cool. I like purple. And so all our folders are changing. Easy way to change your colors. So I am liking that. And that looks kind of cool too. I just kind of might want to go with that gold there. That is neat. And it kind of gives the folders themselves kind of a coppery look. Cool. And then we have our panel and dock options here. We can IntelliHide our panel. So if you don't want that showing up when you have something maximized, then just go hit the IntelliHide here, right here. And now it's showing us a message that it's set to IntelliHide. If I were to open up something full screen like the file menu here, that gets the panel right out of the way, but I can get quick access to it just by mousing down. That's the IntelliHide, just in case you didn't know that. And then you can turn it off again just by clicking it again, and that will toggle that. Really great. Then we have Constructor Snapshot. What is a Constructor Snapshot, you might ask? Let's go in and check. This is really cool. The Constructor Snapshot tool lets you make an ISO of your install, but it doesn't save your personal information. So like your home folders and all that personal stuff won't be in the install. But if you went and you modified, like let's say the Plasma desktop here, you modified it with your own kind of wallpaper and you decided you wanted the icons on your desktop spaced differently, and maybe you moved this panel in a different area, had it laid out differently, and you just kind of modified and kind of made your own theme or your own modification. I think you could actually make your own environment as well, create a custom one. Otherwise, you can modify one like this and just make it the way you like it and totally give it a makeover. And then you can hit this Constructor Snapshot tool and it'll make a bootable ISO that you can install on any other computer. So you can share your layout with all your friends, or if you're an IT guy working somewhere and you want something set up just a specific way for your users because maybe you don't want them to have access to certain things, or you want them to see something laid out specifically in a certain way, then you can set it up like that here. Use this tool, and in one click you can create an ISO of that, burn it onto a stick, and then install it everywhere. And it'll be set up exactly the way you tailored it. That is something I think is pretty awesome. I like that. I've never seen anything like that on any other distro that I've played with. If there was one, I missed it. And so if you were going to click on that, all it would do is clean out some of the cached junk, and then back up your desktop settings, clear the cache, and then it'll come up with another little window here in a minute. And then we get this window here, and so then all you have to do is just select option number 1, and you're creating the ISO of your setup. Doesn't get much cooler than that. Very simple, no complicated process at all. And then if you change your mind, just press 2 and exit, and we're back where we started. The snapshot tool. Outstanding. Then we have our important links here. So these are going to different Makulu links here, the wiki, membership, bug reports, Twitter, YouTube, live chat, latest news, forums, Facebook, and about us. And then of course back to the latest news. This is kind of where everything started out when you booted in. This will kind of keep you on top of things when something new comes out. And then a donate button. That's important too, because if you want to support a great project like this, that's the place to do it. Just click on that button and make yourself a donation, and that will help support the project and ensure that people can keep providing you with amazing stuff like this. Something that would be impossible to find on Windows or Mac. And so if we run into our menu real quick, let's just take a quick look at what is installed by default. So in our graphics, we got an image viewer and paint. So it looks like it's kind of minimal, which is good. That leaves you a lot of room to install your own stuff. And then for internet, our default browser is Chrome. Then we got Discord in there, and Popcorn Time, which is kind of a movie app where you can watch movies or TV series, things like that. So if there's some old TV show you used to watch, or if you want to find some kind of movie, you can jump in here to Popcorn Time, and then you can bring up all this stuff, pick out something to watch, and play it. That's really cool. And then on series, of course, you got, I think these are all old TV series, previous ones, like The Simpsons, Family Guy, Titans, all this stuff. Fun stuff. Stuff I like. And then, of course, Office, WPS Office is installed by default. And under Sound and Video, we got Hypnotics. That's a live streaming TV app. You can pick up live TV stations from all kinds of different countries, including the US. And your classic system tools here, GDebi and Grub Customizer, which is really nice actually. Our different menus, our package installers, and so forth. And Time Shift. Always good to have a backup of all your stuff. and then pinned apps, so you can put your favorites right in here just by right-clicking and add to favorites. And so down here we also got our app store. MakuluLinux is already set up for snap and flatpaks. So in addition to the repositories, you can have snaps and flatpaks available. So when you're in the software catalog and you do a search for something like Inkscape or OBS Studio, GIMP, you'll have a choice of installing from snap, flatpak, or from the repository, wherever they're available. You'll have an option up here in the Snap Store App Store. And so the first time it's being run, of course, it's gonna have to download all the information for the software catalog, the graphics and descriptions and all that. So the first time use when you run it is always gonna naturally take time to run all that. Now, of course, if you do all your installing from the terminal, like I do, you don't have to wait for all that. But the software catalog is really nice. It's visually appealing, and you can read the description on different softwares and kind of browse through all the different categories to find new things that maybe you didn't know existed. And it makes searching a lot easier. If you're looking for a certain type of app but you don't know if it's available on Linux, you can go in here and search for a keyword that's related to what it is you're looking for. You'll get results, and you'll be more than likely sure to find what you're looking for. And while that's downloading, we still got our updates going here. So it's installing these updates here. It looks like, oh, it's still downloading. Wow. Okay, so I guess it's downloading and installing, because I'm pretty sure I hit install updates. That's kind of a cool icon theme too, actually. And that's probably slowing down my catalog update here, as all this stuff going on here in the updater, because typically it does take a little bit for the catalog to update, but it shouldn't take quite that long. That's taking a little bit longer than normal, and I think it's probably because all this stuff is going on. It's pretty busy. Plus I'm recording this video, which is eating up some resources too, I'm sure. So I think I'm gonna just click back on my menu here, and if we go to our additional settings and settings manager, we can see all the different settings here for different things here. So we got our network settings here, and of course it's wired, and then Bluetooth, which I'm not using here, background. So here's a place where you can change your background outside of Variety. So if you don't want to use Variety and you just kind of want to use your own background, you can get your own pictures and just kind of add them in here, put in your own picture folder by clicking add picture and then just selecting, for example, your picture folder. And then you can put in your own custom stuff. So that's the alternative. You don't have to go through the Variety route, just in case you were wondering. And then our notification settings here. So you can have do not disturb put on if you don't want to be bothered by notifications. And then of course you got your choices of what to be. You can turn notifications on and off in different apps. And then we have our search, and in our search bar we can pull up different things like our contacts. We can use it as a calculator, calendar, terminal, all these different things we can include. And then we got our weather app, which is always nice. I like weather apps. And it looks like it finally finished downloading everything. I thought I clicked install updates, but maybe I didn't, so I'm just going to hit that again, see what it does. Then we got our applications. Nothing in there at the moment. Privacy settings. Location services are turned off by default. Actually, I don't think it even asked me, but if you want those turned on, then that would be the place to go. And then camera settings. And we got our online accounts. So if you're using any of this stuff and you want to integrate with any of these guys, there's the place to do it. And then our sharing settings. So you can turn on file sharing or media sharing if you like. That's pretty nice, especially if you're on a network. And then these are our sound settings where you can set your sound and volume and input and so forth. Power settings, and I like the defaults. Never and auto suspend off. That's kind of where I go by default. And then we got our orientation here and our resolution, which is 1920 by 1080. Mouse settings, keyboard, printers, everything are set up in these things, so pretty much any drivers you're going to need are probably already available to you in the default for MakuluLinux. So that's another really nice aspect, is that you probably won't have to worry about drivers and have issues like that. If you've been in other distros and you've had problems with, say, your Wi-Fi or printing or different things like that. You may not have that issue in this distro because it's really been kind of configured and set up to be as universally adaptable as possible. In other words, it should just work. Then our removable media, color settings, region and language, accessibility, users. So if you want to change your avatar, this is a place you can do it. Click on that little guy and put a picture in there. Set your password. You can set it for automatic login if you wanted to just log in automatically and so forth. Then your default app settings. So if you end up installing something like Brave browser and you want to make that your default, you can change it in here if you wish. And same with a mail client and your calendar and all these other guys. For example, if you install VLC, you might want to make your video player VLC so you can select it there. But of course, it has to be installed first. And then your date and time settings. And finally, about. And so in the about, it'll give you a little bit more information about your setup. And so we have our device name here, 3.8 gigs of RAM, Intel processor, blah, 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 your video card, disk size, and all that. GNOME version, so in 3.38, which kind of surprised me because it's based on the GNOME 40, I believe. Maybe that'll change after the update. And so now these updates are continuing. I remember when I was booting up, the kernel was 5.10 something. So after these updates, we should be at 5.14, I believe. And I can actually run a NeoFetch real quick if I open up the terminal. And I'm assuming that NeoFetch is probably installed, which it is. Excellent. And so here we're showing that we're running kernel 5.10.0.8 at the moment, or -8. Desktop environment is GNOME 40.2 with Mutter. Then we got Makulu Orange, our theme, our different icons, so you can see what icon theme you're running, terminal, and all the important stuff. So I'm liking that. As soon as this update's done, I'm going to do a reboot and rerun this NeoFetch and just kind of check our kernel and see if that guy updated. Okay, and I'm back. And actually, it's the next morning. What? Yeah, I had some internet issues last night, and so could not finish it. The updates were kind of halting, and so I had to wait until today to complete it. Now the update's complete, and we are back in. However, you'll notice that we have a different look. What's up with this? So if we go in here and we look, our menu is gone at the bottom, and if I hit my super key here, we have our menu. It kind of looks like we went back to the GNOME look. I suspect something with my experience with GNOME. Typically, when GNOME does an update, everything breaks. That's the nature of GNOME, which is the reason I don't like GNOME. And so, I don't know if that's the case for sure though. So let's just run over to our appearance settings real quick, Layout Manager. And we were in Plasma. So let me just hit the Plasma layout and let it transform. And it kind of looks like the transform really doesn't want to go through here. This has taken a while. So I think it's probably because the extensions that it depends on are probably broken, which is typically what happens after a GNOME update. So I'm just going to log out real quick and then log back in. And I just saw an error message there. So we'll just log out here. Okay, so we're back in. So what I'm going to do is bring up my terminal. And let's do a NeoFetch. And as you can see, we're now at GNOME 41.0. Before the update, we were at 40.2, if I remember right. So I really think it probably has a lot to do with the update. I see our kernel is now up to 5.14, 0-2, whereas before it was at 5.10 something. So we definitely did get updated. I'm just going to hit my super key and bring up my menu here, and then do a search for extensions. And let's just open that up and see if we can see what's going on. There it is. Okay, hiding on me. And so, yeah, see a lot of red explanation points here. Arc menu, better volume, brightness, comp is alike. So that's what gave the comp is effect. Okay. CPU power manager, dash to dock, dash to panel, those are very major. And so if we arrow over that, we'll probably get a message that says that it is not compatible with this version. We can go in here. The extension is incompatible with the current GNOME version. Yeah, so there you go, typical for GNOME. So this is why in the past I've always recommended that if you run GNOME, that you should not use extensions, just run it the way it is and you'll be happier. However, if you're comfortable using the typical GNOME setup and you really like having the ability to switch between desktop environments the way you can in Makulu, then if you just accept the fact that you got to live with running regular GNOME for a while until the extensions get a chance to catch up with GNOME's update, then you should be good. Because this will start working eventually once the developers of the extensions get caught up to the new update. And sometimes that could take a few days, sometimes a week. Hard to say, depends on the developer and how hard it is to get the fixes in place. And this is one reason I never develop anything in GNOME. About 5 years ago, I created some software for my internet business, and I wrote it in Python using a GTK widget set, and I think it was GNOME Builder that I was building it in. And it was the first time I ever used it, and I thought, this is a really great environment. I really enjoyed it. I got to learn the widget set really quickly, and everything was working great. And I just loved it. I thought, wow, this is going to be my new thing. I'm going to be building in this a lot. And so it was really a great experience. It took about a month to get my software suite all working the way I needed it to work to run my business. And I was so happy. I was just thrilled with it. And so one day, Mrs. Boss complained that it stopped working altogether. And I said, what? Wait a minute. And so I launched it on my computer. Same thing. It didn't work. It was completely broke. And I got in there and started troubleshooting, and I could not figure out what was going on. After a little bit of Googling, I found out that it had to do with a GNOME update. And that's when I learned that every time GNOME updates, if you create software in GNOME, it's going to completely break. And the developers, they don't really care. They feel like it's TNOP. Totally not our problem. So I decided right then and there that I was never going to create software based on GNOME, because having software that completely breaks every time GNOME decides to do an update is just unacceptable. So I switched over to WX widgets at the time and never had an issue with it, and never really had issues with Qt framework or any other kind of framework. Using Lazarus, never an issue. So yeah, that's my rant about GNOME. And that's the reason I don't like GNOME. And I feel for the extension creators, the people that create the extensions, because the extensions really kind of make GNOME usable for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't like the way GNOME does things, but they like other things about GNOME. And so these extensions kind of compensate for it, but you gotta learn to live with your extensions breaking every time they do an update. And so do the developers. They have to live with it. They have to update their stuff every time, pretty much. So yeah, I can't blame Makulu on this one. They're just, they chose a framework that's the way it works. It breaks. So anyways, for the OS, for Makulu and this project and the idea that they have something that shifts from desktop environment to desktop environment, I think that is just super cool. It is really amazing. I love it. And it's just a pity that you got a framework like GNOME that works like this. And so you just got to learn to live with these delays if you want to use an environment like this, and just kind of accept the fact that you need to go back to regular GNOME for a while. And so think of GNOME as like the 9th desktop environment. Because here in the Layout Manager, we got 8 right here. But the regular GNOME, which you get when the extensions break, would be the 9th one. So technically you got 9. And for now, we have to live in environment number 9, which is straight up GNOME. And then once the extensions are fixed, we can go back to one of the other 8. So I guess that's one way you can look at it. And if you like the regular GNOME environment, then it's not really that bad. Just kind of live with it, and in a few days, you can have back your Flash or Plasma, Dash, LinDoz, Simple Unity, and have a change of pace again. So if you're somebody that likes to change and have different desktop environments all the time, just consider this another desktop environment, and sooner or later, within a few days or a week or so, you'll get another update notification, run the update, and everything will be back. I'm quite sure of that. So with that, I give MakuluLinux a double thumbs up. I love the project. I have to give GNOME a thumbs down though. But Makulu is really awesome, and I like this. Personally, if it was me, I'm pretty adaptable. So if I was running this on a computer and I was using it as a daily driver, I would be fine. Yeah, I'd be irritated when this happens, but it wouldn't really hurt my production any because I can navigate in GNOME just fine, just by hitting the super key and typing in the search bar or hitting the main menu, doing my stuff. So no big deal to me other than just being mildly irritated that I lost my Plasma look or my Dash look or my Flash or LinDoz look temporarily. But knowing the issue and knowing that those extensions will work again in time is something I can live with. So with that, it's a good thing that this happened right now during this review, so that way you can kind of have a realistic thing and maybe a better perspective. So if you download this and something like this happens and the extensions stop working, you know it's not really the end of the world. Nothing to panic about because it'll be back. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this review. And if you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It really does help. And hit subscribe. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.